Hello and welcome back to another episode of From the Field. I'm your host Casey Orr and I have an amazing guest, Adrian, which we have been doing this for the last couple months around what's new in Amazon Connect. Now today is the 25th of April in Australia and New Zealand, which is Anzac Day, which stands for Australian New Zealand Army Corps, I believe, that was established during World War One to help fight that action, so to speak. And today is our Remembrance Day, and I believe there's also a service in Turkey as well, which is quite cool. For the last 2 months, we have been doing a lot of like talking around, there's new features, this is what's happening. But today, Adrian is actually going to take us into more detail on how do we actually set up these features, and then how do we go about getting use of them. Adrian, do you want to do a quick intro to yourself and actually about what we're going to cover?
Sure. My name's Adrian Morgan. I've been at AWS now for 6 years, focused on Amazon Connect and customer experience, and really customer experience has been my entire background of my career, working in the industry, doing everything from consulting with companies on customer experience all the way to, well, back in the day, pulling in cables and plugging in hardware, which I'm very glad I don't have to do anymore. And so today, we've been talking about a number of features and capabilities within Amazon Connect, particularly about some of the things that have been the new releases around generative AI and our capabilities there, as well as customer profiles. And I thought I'd just take people through how you enable these things and do much more of the hands-on experience today. Take people through how you actually build a contact flow and just show how easy it is to use some of these capabilities that we have.
Awesome. And we do have a couple people. We've had people saying hello from Dallas, Texas and Mexico, which is it's quite late in Texas. It's around 10, I believe, maybe 11, if I get my conversion correct from the amount of times I talk to my American colleagues.
It's always a challenge when we've just had daylight savings finish. And so it's always a challenge to remember exactly what time it is in those locations. So welcome, Mexican friends, and Dallas, Texas. I've only ever been to Dallas once, and that was just through the airport on my way to Austin. But it was everything. The airport was everything I imagined it would be. Big, and everything is bigger in Texas.
Awesome. Yeah, I haven't actually made it to the US yet. It's definitely on my list of to-dos, especially Mexico as well. One of the account managers I work with, he is born in Mexico and he actually came over and now he's in Australia. But I am planning a trip with him hopefully next year to actually get, kind of like the hands-on experience around Mexico. So if you have any like tips or tricks around like where I should go in Mexico, then yeah, definitely let me know. But we are not a tourist Twitch show. We are about technology. So should we jump into it, Adrian?
Yeah, I was about to say we could become travel at Amazon. I will go through a couple of slides, Casey, so if you want to just pop those up and
Yep,
share
there you
the
go.
screen. So thank you. So look, for those joining for the first time, this is a show about what's new in Amazon Connect. We do dive into some of the capabilities. For those people who aren't aware of Amazon Connect, I'll give you a brief overview of that. But we do have some events coming up that we like to promote on this show. We've got AWS summits in both Singapore and Seoul coming up in May. Hey, welcome Singaporeans on the call. So I hope you're registered for AWS Summit in Singapore on the 7th of May.
Have no excuses.
Had no excuses to get there. Also Seoul summits coming up. Both summits are amazing. Unfortunately, I won't be at either one of those this time around. But we've just had the Sydney summit in Sydney, Australia, and that was fantastic. We've also got Contact Center Day coming up, which is really, for contact center leaders on Thursday, May the 2nd. If you do a search for Contact Center Day, you can register. It's a virtual conference and absolutely fantastic to hear how customers are using Amazon Connect and looking at all the new generative AI capabilities as well and a bit deeper. So if this is your first time joining, what is Amazon Connect? It is our contact center application. It's born out of Amazon customer service. So our retail, Amazon.com, and places like Audible, your Kindle devices, your Alexa devices. If you've ever used any of those, and you've ever needed support, you're calling or you're contacting us via chat or by call, by phone, using Amazon Connect. And it was born out of our own internal use cases. And then customers were asking us, how do you provide the customer experience you do at the scale that you do for an Amazon.com? And we ended up productizing what we built internally. That product is available to all of our customers as Amazon Connect. And it's really, I've been here 6 years and the innovation has been incredible. And, it's gone from being, when it was first launched, from being a voice-only service to now covering all of the different types of customer service interaction channels that you could imagine. An amazing agent workspace that allows you to, get your agents up and operational really, really quickly. Supervisor analytics, and that's one of the things that I do want to focus on today. From a supervisor perspective, being able to drive into conversational analytics, both in real time and post call. And then from an administrator point of view, I'm going to be showing you today all of the GUI side of it. So the simple self-service UI capabilities. But we also have, not surprisingly, for those who AWS people who've had experience from using AWS, we've also got a bunch of APIs and SDKs that you can use as well. So whilst I'll be showing you the GUI, because, well, it's a little bit easier. I think it's probably a little bit more interesting television to show you the GUI than show you an API triggering. But we do have those APIs there if you're an organization who wants to do infrastructure as code. So we've covered off both of those things. The reason why we've really driven this Twitch channel is because of the pace of innovation, and customers have said, hey, how do I quickly find out what's gone on in the last month? And we had a bucket load of releases at the end of March, to coincide with an event in Sydney, event in the US around contact centers. So there are a whole heap of releases then. There's been a couple this month, but I thought we'd go in and show you a little bit more hands-on now. Over the last 3 months, some big ones relating to customer profiles, post-call contact summaries, the proficiency routing, barge in, and then a big one that we did dive into a little bit last month was the contact lens to automatically fill and submit performance evaluations. That one is a really interesting one for performance evaluations, because it allows you to do things at a scale that organizations haven't been able to do. And Casey, it's been really interesting, actually. I think I've had more conversations with organizations about that one almost than all the others. So yeah, it's been pretty cool.
I'm not surprised with that front.
Yeah, and just people wanting to do some really interesting things. So I'm going to drag my screen over.
While you're doing that as well, if you have any questions about what Adrian is doing or why he's doing certain things, or if you want to just ask like a slightly off-tangent question, do feel free to just type into the question. Type into chat. Type the question into chat. My brain is not fully working, as we can tell. And then when there is a good pause, I'll make sure that I'll pose those questions to Adrian so he can answer them.
Yeah, cool. So you should be able to see my screen now. This is the AWS console. I've gone into Amazon Connect, and I've just created a very, very simple instance for what's new. I talked about customer profiles, and like many of the capabilities we have a mixture. Well, we have a mixture of capabilities that you enable within Amazon Connect, and then we have a mixture of capabilities that you action in the Amazon Connect GUI. So between the console and the GUI. And profiles is one of the ones that you need access into the Amazon Web Services console. But you can jump in here, and I'll just show you how easy it is to do. So click on Enable Customer Profiles, and you've got this concept of a domain. So you can think of a domain as this is where all your data is being stored. One of the cool things is this is sits all within Amazon Connect. It's not a separate application. It's just part of Connect, that seamless single application. And that's really cool because what it means is when you do bring data in, you've got the ability, all that data that sits there comes under the same security controls that you've got for Amazon Connect, all the same attestations like the SOC 1, SOC 2, SOC 3, etc. All of those things, because this is just part of Amazon Connect, it's all there automatically. So I'm going to call my domain my what's new domain. You've got a couple of options here. So you can automatically infer profiles from the existing data, and that kind of creates limited data. Or you can create profiles and start to auto-associate them, or you've got the option to purely auto-associate. I'm just going to use the top one here. Got to create a security key, security being job 0 for us. Actually, I'm going to use that one. That's easier. Use the first, I've just used the AWS KMS key there. Note just here, you cannot change this key afterwards. Down the bottom, you do have the ability to do error reporting. So if there's an error in creating a profile, it can write to SQS and you can review that. In a production environment, I tend to turn that on, or I tend to get customers to turn it on. And you can also obviously apply tagging, and that allows you to control your access management, but also tracking costs for customer profiles domain. Click on Enable, and it takes a few minutes to enable. But then you have this ability to unify all of your customer data. Now, if you're just using Amazon Connect, it will automatically create these profiles for everybody who contacts in. So if somebody rings in, profile gets created, profile gets stored, and if they call in again, you know that it's the same person based on the phone number. If a contact goes through to an agent, you can then add all the personal information. So let's say Casey was to call into this number now, and I'll talk about that in a second, but if you were to call into the contact center and it popped to an agent, I obviously don't have Casey's details yet if it's his first time calling, but then I can create that profile. I can add, hey, Casey's called in. I can type in Casey's name, Casey's address, all that kind of information that I'd want, any notes about Casey. And then I can use that immediately next call. So the next time Casey calls in, it'll recognize Casey's phone number, and I can just actually use Casey's name in the conversation, which is a pretty nice thing to do when you call in, because there's not too many contact centers out there. I don't know about you, Casey. Not too many contact centers that when I've called in, it said, hi, Casey, or hi, Adrian. It's a really nice way of demonstrating that you're using data about your customers. So that's profiles enabled. You've got a couple of other options here. So, well, you'll see the metrics. So obviously this is brand new, so we don't have any profiles created. You can also configure identity resolution. So one of the things that we can do is add data source integrations. Now, the data source integration here, you'll see that we've got some standard ones already pre-configured. So you jump down here and you can choose your source. And so, things like Marketo, you can drop all of your data into S3. Salesforce is a connector that we have, as well as ServiceNow, Zendesk, etc. And then you've got a bunch that are powered by Airflow. So if your data is sitting in Salesforce right now, you can click Salesforce. It'll obviously ask you for your account details, establish a new connection, and start an ingestion from a particular date. And then all your Salesforce customer records, so the details around the contact, the person, their address, products, all that information will automatically be put into Amazon Connect, into customer profiles, and then can be used in these interactions. So, does this customer have certain products with us? Is it their anniversary? All these types of things, quite easily enabled. So I will close that wizard because I don't have a Salesforce instance to pull the data in from. So that turns on profiles, which is pretty cool. I will just jump in and show, forecasting, capacity planning, and scheduling is another capability. I've been working in this industry for a while. Typically, this capability requires you to do an integration between the contact center service and another service. Within Connect, it's just simply a matter of clicking that button, and it'll come up with an in progress, and it will turn on. And that will automatically start the process of importing of data to be able to use this capability. That takes about 24 hours before it will appear on for an existing production account, because it is doing a lot of work in the background to create those forecasts for you. But that's how easy we're making things in Connect. Okay, I'm going to jump over and show you a contact flow. So here, so here is an example of a contact flow, and you can think of a contact flow as really the business processing of a contact that comes in. Now, if you recall, you can use a contact that is a chat, a message, an SMS. You can do a voice conversation, obviously. We also have the ability to do native calling from both like a mobile app or from a website. And they can all use the exact same contact flow that you establish. So you build it once and you can reuse it for all of those different channels. And that's pretty cool. So, you can set logging. So I'm going to turn on logging here. So it's enabled. Flow logs, I've got to do that. So that's one of the ones of you've got to log your flow, you've got to connect up your flows. I do like this about Connect too. It also reminds you when you've done something wrong. So it tells you, hey, by the way, you should do this. And you can click on the link, the hyperlinks back out. So I won't do that at the moment, but set it logging there. And these are really just drag and drops. So setting the voice, you got multiple voices. Now I'm Australian, as you can probably tell from the accent. I speak one language, which is, some people would say if you speak Australian, it's not really English, but I speak Australian English. And so we have an Australian English names and voices. So Russell, Nicole, and Olivia. Olivia's the nicest one, I'm going to say. So yes, for those that were asking, Russell is named after Russell Crowe. Wasn't the actor, but the voice is the same. Voice is when they named it, the Americans, I think, knew Russell Crowe, knew Nicole Kidman, and knew Olivia Newton-John as the key Australians in the world. if you go in and have a look at the other voices that we've got, we've got different accents. And so we've got an English India accent, Ravina, Adita, and Kajal. But also we've got, you scroll down and we've actually got other voices and other languages that we support. One of my colleagues is particularly likes the Welsh voices. But yeah, I'm going to set this one to Australian English. Where did I lose Australia? There we go. And I'll set it to Olivia. There and click save. Now I should point out we do have what we call standard voices and neural voices. So neural voices are basically the words are created. This is us. It sets the voice for speech, text to speech, and the neural voices are where it basically creates the waveform rather than an older style of concatenated voice, and they sound very authentic.
The one question I do have on that for
Yeah.
my own personal satisfaction is a lot of the text to speech will have the phonetic component to it, so you can, massage the voice and sound more natural. Is that possible in Connect?
It is, and I'll show you where you do that. So here's one I prepared earlier. Casey, you can click on play prompt, and you can create the prompt here. So, and welcome to Twitch TV. So you can create the prompt here, and down here you can actually set it as text or SSML. Now, SSML allows you to provide various tags on the voice, and you can change things like pitch. You can change the emphasis on certain words. Small linguistics joke in that, emphasis. Casey didn't find it funny. I don't know if anybody in the audience found it funny. I'd appreciate a little bit of a lol. You can also do things like if there's numbers, you can choose how you want to read them out. So if it's a phone number, you can choose 147 versus 147. Those types of things. Interestingly, since we've launched the neural voices, SSML is a lot less used because the neural voices tend to understand what the context of the words are, which is actually pretty cool. So in an older voice, in the concatenated voices, where you are looking at the phonemes and stuff, you would need to say, you might, if you're doing, let me think of an example. Like if you did ANZ, as in capital ANZ. In the old voices, sometimes it would try to pronounce it as ANS. And so you'd have to put spaces in it. Now the neural voices recognize that it's actually just ANZ. And it also does say Z, not Z. But that's where you do that. And then, when we're talking about the recording and analytics behavior, this is where we start to move into the space of, when we talk about the generative AI capabilities and the contact summarization, this is where those are enabled. And so just under here, you've got set recording behavior. You can just turn it on. It turns on for agent and customer. We also have screen recording, and that you turn it on here. There is a client that you've got to drop onto the agent desktop if you want to do that. But this is ridiculously simple to be able to turn it on here and then just drop a client and it just all works, which blows my mind after being in this industry for so long. I remember actually when one of my early conversations with a customer was, this is 6 years ago. When you do call recording, what percentage of calls, do you guarantee that you record? I'm like, well, it's recorded at the server side, and they're like, oh, so you're basically taking it at the Amazon Connect server, wherever that instance, I should say, in the region where it is. That's where you're doing the recording, rather than at, a lot of the legacy products out there are doing recording out at the edge, which creates all sorts of challenges about accuracy and getting the information back. But we do it on the instance itself. And so pretty much every conversation is recorded that you choose to. So yeah, it was quite an interesting conversation to have with the customer when we're explaining the differences. You get the option here of turning on analytics, and once you turn that on, a whole bucket load of options pop up. So you can enable speech analytics. You've got the option here of post-call analytics and real-time and post-call, which I'd recommend enabling. We've also got the, as I mentioned before, this is the one contact flow that can do voice and chat. So you can turn on chat analytics just here as well. You've got language. So like we have language in the set voice, you've got language in the interpretation of the analytics. And so you can click on that and choose the language that you want to support. You can also set that dynamically. So if you've got, if you're doing a contact center that has a lot of different language support, you can set it dynamically, and basically that just calls it as a metric, or as a variable, I should say. I'm just going to set this one here at the moment. You've got redaction, and so you can click on redact here. And this is really interesting as well, I think, because a lot of organizations want to redact PII data, but it's traditionally been quite difficult with transcripts and audio. Whereas what we're doing, this is an AI model that we've got in the background that's looking over searching for PII data, and then making decisions about whether you redact it. And you can redact it in the transcript. You can give both the redacted audio and the original audio, and you can then and you can set that dynamically again, and you can do both redacted and original transcripts. And people often say to me, "Why would you want to do that?" It's like, well, maybe for one use case, for quality management, or for some of your records, you want people to be able to review the contacts, but you don't want them to have access to all of the PII data. But maybe for legal reasons, you need to keep the originals as well. So you can basically do both if you would like. This is pretty interesting, data redaction, redact all PII data, or you can select entities to redact. And so we've broken this up, which is really cool, into the different kind of industries. Some very, very specific things like the Canadian Health Service number, the UK NHS number, Social Security's driver's license. So in the background, we've got regex looking for that, all the way down through to standard things like what's the person's name, etc. Now, if you're running a help desk, we haven't forgotten about you, because we're looking at the technical side of things, redacting IP addresses, and if someone says their password, we will redact it, which is cool. And then things like vehicle ID, etc. And you've got options of how you want to replace it. So first off, we do this option here, which is we redact and we say it's replaced by bracket, PII bracket. So names don't appear as names, or we replace it by its type. I think it makes a little bit more sense to do by type, because when I'm reading it, then if I'm reading a redacted transcript, I can see, oh, that's where the customer said their name, and then the conversation seems to make a little bit more sense in my mind. When we get down to here, then generative AI. A Casey, I don't know about you, but I seem to have a generative AI conversation at least once or twice a day with customers. The way that Connect is bringing generative AI is really through clickable capabilities. We want to make it really simple for customers to adopt this type of thing. And so you click here, and it's going to, when I hit save, every contact that goes through here will create a generative AI summarization of the contact. Now that's pretty cool, and I'm going to just show you how to save that. Save that. We've now got a contact flow already set up, and that's how easy we've made it to turn on generative AI. A lot of businesses I know are going in looking at, do I use, when I do Bedrock, do I use this model? Do I use that model? Do I do this manually? With Connect, it's just really that easy. And so then we get the summaries. I will show you some of the other capabilities of, helps if you type the word working, set around it, working queue. You can just drag and drop these sort of blocks. If you have a look on the left-hand side of Connect, you do have all these blocks that you can enable. I mentioned we talked about profiles before, and we have a customer profiles block. And so here, you can click on here, get profile, add a search identifier, click down on this little arrow.
Wait for the spinny icon.
Wait for the spinny icon. Wait again.
I'm just going to blame this on your internet.
My internet is particularly bad at the moment. I know it can't be blank. There we go. And so to retrieve a get a profile, you can then just go, I just want to look for a phone number. I want to set that as phone, save, phone equals phone. And then I'm going to I want to recall, these are all data fields that are automatically, I mentioned the automatic ones in profile. I can just turn on first name, last name, save. And so now if somebody calls in or chats in, well, if they call in, I'm going to be looking for it as for a phone number. And now I can start to do things like use their name in the conversation. Oops. I want prompt. And so here, hello, and I'm going to call the variable customer dot first name. That's how easy it is to use a name within Amazon Connect once you set up customer profiles. And it'll just call in and do that. And it will say their name in the conversation, which is pretty cool. I'm going to save my work. Oh, that's popped up nice and large now, hasn't it? So when you think about a contact center and you're doing a call comes in or a voice chat comes in, this is effectively the business process that it will go through. So we turned on logging, we'll turn on the voice. If it's a voice call, we're going to give a welcome message. We're going to set the analytics behavior. If we're going to route it to a person, we need to set up a queue. It's going to say this one's going to go to the sales queue. We'll set that queue. We've got their profile. So now we're personalizing the interaction. And now we're going to transfer to queue. Transfer to queue, and always you terminate on a disconnect block. So you've basically gone through this process. I'm going to zoom out a bit. You can make this kind of flow as simple or as complex as you'd like. This is just an example to show how easy it is to turn on things like the ability to use customer profiles, the ability to use somebody's name in a contact flow, that you can pull in from your CRM, as I mentioned, like the Salesforce example, or even you can create these profiles on the fly. How easy it is to turn generative AI on in Amazon Connect.
Adrian, just would you be able to do something like if you keep track of a delivery of an item, for example, like let's just say you brought a couch, and then I know that yesterday the couch was delivered, and then you call in today. Like, would I be able to, in this call center, be able to build out something that says, I recognize that we've just delivered something to you. Your calling is probably related to something that happened at that delivery.
Yeah, so you absolutely can. So there's a couple of ways that you can integrate data into those sort of experiences. One is directly through customer profiles. So let's say you've got product delivery information stored within customer profiles. You can put product history in there, for example. You can insert all the products that they've purchased. You can insert all the products that somebody hasn't even looked at on the internet if you've got that detail, or that they've got in a wish list. You can do all that kind of stuff. But the other way to do the integration of data is through through Lambda. Just scroll over. So, there we go. So, you'd know about Lambda, wouldn't you, Casey? You would have used a few Lambda functions in your time. So, Lambda, for those that have not used Lambda, Lambda's our serverless code. And basically, you can, if I was to drop this block in, I'm just going to X out of those. So you can invoke a Lambda function straight from Amazon Connect. You can tell this is live because Casey didn't tell me to do this beforehand, so I haven't got a Lambda function set up ready to go. But you can invoke a Lambda function here, and that can pretty much go off and connect into any system that you want. Examples of this are absolutely what Casey just said, like, hey, product information, it was delivered, was something delivered, is something out for delivery right now. Now, if customers called in and the expectation, let's say they call in at 5 o'clock, and your system suggested that the product was going to be delivered between 10 and 12 today, and it wasn't, you can actually, within Lambda, reach out into that system, pull back the information and say things like, hi, Adrian, are you calling because you haven't received your product? And automatically say things like that. Or are you calling to register your new product or activate it? That's a really common use case in banking. So where customer gets their new card delivered to them. And so they'll call in, and we'll know from customer profiles that they have a card a brand new card that's coming to them. And we can look in and we can check to see, has this brand new card been registered? And if it hasn't, we can prompt them to automatically register the card. So yeah, Lambda's absolutely powerful to be able to do that. One of the things that we did introduce as a usability feature last year, which I do like, it's just the ability to call block names. So if I could spell I think that's right. And so now you can call the blocks all the different names that you want, which is really cool. And so you can return effectively through Lambda, and you can write Lambdas in Python, Node. What else? Help me out here, Casey?
I'm pretty sure you could actually write lambdas in anything, because I believe you can actually do custom lambda containers nowadays.
Oh, cool. Well, I typically write in Python because that's I like the way that you can talk to somebody about a Python function and just go, hey, read this, and it seems to make sense to most people. So
I'm not going to get into the arguments about programming languages.
I thought I'd pull you into that one. Yeah, so that allows you to do that, exactly that. Write in any of those languages that you want and connect into any bit of data that you want. I better delete that, otherwise it's my publish will fail. Okay, so once we've got that, you just literally hit publish, and it will publish the flow. Pops up here with a published flow successfully. And then in Amazon Connect itself, the telco is all provided. And so you can click on phone numbers, and you can jump up here and just hit claim a number. And so you've got all these different countries that you can claim now. Oh, that's my dog going off in the background. Casey?
Yep, you can't control dogs, unfortunately. They will bark and yelp whenever they want.
Click on the contact flow at the bottom, press save, and then it's there. And that phone number you can call in, and you get exactly that experience that I just created. And now, based on that, you've got a contact center that can provide personalized customer experience, including generative AI. And that is all you need to do to build up that sort of capability, which I think it's very, very cool to be able to do that in such a short amount of time and have all those AI capabilities.
Especially just being able to experiment with it, because you can go into your own. Oh, and one of my lights gone out, so I'm going to turn and become orange because for some reason my camera has decided that if this light's on, I turn orange. I don't know why. It's just is what it does. But yeah, one of the great things I like about it, and I do this on my own internal account as I go on, and I'll just play around because it's really easy just to get started and hammer something out, and it's actually kind of cool building it out and then calling it with your own phone and then actually like experiencing it. And I believe someone internally also actually decided to use it as like their own personal number. So no matter what, if someone called him, it'd go into Connect instance and then filter them before it gets to his actual like mobile number, which is next level. So he created his own call center for himself.
Well, one of the use cases when we very, very first time created Amazon Connect and made it available. So with that ability to be able to use Lambda, and Lambda integrating with pretty much any data source that you want to make available, one of our customers created this process where they've created a phone number, put a password in front of it. So you'd have to key in a certain code, and that would then go into a menu option where they could shut down all of their EC2 instances that were used in the development environment, so that if they forgot as they were leaving the office to shut down their dev instances, they could just call in and go click rather than jumping back onto the console. I thought that was a cool use case.
That is amazingly lazy and exactly what I want from developers that work in any business.
We were joking about, well, given that you can do all this kind of stuff, I wonder who's going to start controlling satellites from their Amazon Connect instance. Controlling ground station or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's just another interface at the end of the day, right?
It is. Right. It is. And then you obviously, like I didn't go into it, but you can add chat widgets as well. So we have, I've shown adding voice. You can just add a chat widget and this will create effectively the code that you drop into the website. So you've got the same sort of thing of pop it as a name, enable the chat, add chat, define what your contact flow is, and then you've also got that web calling option as well, which provides both voice and video experiences. The same contact flow can be applied as well. So you're all really, really easy to adopt. And it just creates your, you got your customization, so you can kind of preview the start button. You've got different colors, all those kind of things that you want to be able to do. And it'll give you a little bit of a display about what it looks like and how it looks between start a call and etc. The chat view of it. So you can continue, put in your domains, and add security, and away you go.
And that will just give you a little JavaScript link, right? That you just
just give you a little JavaScript. Yep. So this is the domain, like you own the domain, and that'll allow you to be able to put the domain. So we, I'll just copy that. Oops. The widget has been created, and there you go. And so now you've got this widget that you can just drop into your web page, and away you go. And you've got you've got chat enabled on your website. And then obviously, like I didn't talk about any of the other automation, but you've got the ability to do Lex, natural language understanding, that's all built in, DTMF IVRs, you name it, you can integrate it. So yeah.
The one key one that I know that a lot of people will be thinking about when they see a widget like this on their site is there a way for the frequently asked questions or something like that to be captured before it going to a human? Is that the Lex type approach?
Yeah, that's where you put in where you use Lex. So like a lot of the work that we a lot of organizations are trying to capture those FAQ questions before getting to an agent. And so you can use Lex to understand what the question is. You can then feed that into a knowledge base. We've got a great thing called Q&A bot, great solution called Q&A bot that allows you to put your frequently asked questions in and really easy deploy all of this capability using Lex. I should also call out, you don't need to use this this widget. You've also got a full SDK if you wanted to do it. But, yeah, the frequently asked questions is a pretty common one. So
is that the Q&A bot on AWS solution?
It is. I didn't bring it up. There you go. That's this
so
one
that
here.
is the one I'm looking at. Awesome. I'll just make sure we do a link because if we talk about something like that.
So this can be really easily deployed through Lex, and then you just add in the Lex bot as part of the flow. So if I jump back onto Amazon Connect and back into my original flow that I created, hopefully I call it. Yep, that's the one. One of the options is to interact, and it's get customer input. So here's something where you might, if you ever called an IVR and it said press 1 to do this, press 2 to do that, you've got that sort of functionality in here, which is called DTMF, so tones. So add a condition. But then you've got Lex here as well. And so I can put a Lex bot in here, and that can be my Q&A bot. And then you can capture those attributes if they lead, you can capture that intent if they need to speak to an agent. So you can have I don't have a Lex bot in this
Yeah.
Yeah.
I am throwing these at you at left field, so I'm not surprised you don't have anything set up explicitly.
Yeah,
But just
sure.
having access to a solution goes a long way, because that takes a lot of the heavy lifting out of it.
Look, it does, and it gives you, like, the Q&A bot solution. A large number of customers have deployed it for that exact reason. So you start off in chat, and instead of trying to search through an FAQ article, you jump into chat, and it'll be like, "Hey, how can I help you today?" You fire off a question, it puts it into Lex. Lex will do this lookup on Q&A bot to see if it can find a frequently asked question answer, fire it back. And then we've got customers who are taking, the Lex input and pushing it into Bedrock and doing some extra stuff that's pretty interesting.
Yeah, it's definitely a field that is growing exponentially. I can see a lot of possibilities in that space. We are coming up to time, so if you do have any questions like that I've been firing at Adrian, just put them into chat. For the time being, thank you, Adrian, for taking some time out of your public holiday, and also I know your parents' place, I believe, working third world Australian internet.
Yeah, I'm pretty happy that it's been stable, because it wasn't that stable this morning. But just over visiting my parents for the long weekend, sort of long weekend with Friday. But catching up.
Yeah, that Friday always makes things interesting. And also, we do apologize for some of the ragtag setup, especially Adrian's angry typing.
Yeah,
because they're using the laptop microphone, so we heard that very loud and clear.
Gotcha. Sorry about that. I normally, I was commenting, I have a mechanical, I normally use a mechanical keyboard that's quite, it's got quite high, what's the word for it? High resistance keys. So I do have to thump it a bit harder, which my kids laugh at me about.
I do like mechanical keyboards myself, but I don't see any questions coming through, so I'm going to wrap it up here. Let's just bring this off again. Thank you very much, Adrian, for coming on and doing another great episode of What's New on Connect. The last Thursday of next month, which I believe is May, if I can remember my calendars correctly. The last Thursday of that month, we will be live again, exact same time. So thank you very much, everyone.
And thank you, Casey, as well, for taking time out of your long weekend.
So good. Keeping the Anzac spirit alive. And with that, Marty, everyone, and enjoy your weekend and see you next time.
Thank you all.